Hey everybody, Randy and Leslie
Hi
here.
there.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
This is number 1 of 8 quick quarantine editions around the family legacy. As you know, the book was published this past January with the accompanying workbook. It has already reached Amazon bestseller status in 5 countries. While we've been busy filming, the formal filming and teachings, we're getting ready to hit the road as soon as the quarantine lifts so we can travel around the country and hopefully the world, training pastors and church leaders around how to do family.
And individual families.
And individual
too.
families, yeah. Absolutely. Gosh, what do I want to tell you?
Who is this for?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
This is for everybody that's in a family. Whether you're just thinking about starting a family, whether you've got little kids underfoot, school-age children, high schoolers, college kids,
Adult children.
you're empty nesting, or if you're a grandparent. This book and this work is for you. It's for everybody that's in a family.
Because where do you learn to do family?
Yeah.
Like, where's the family school? Usually what happens is we go with what we know. We take what we learned and use what worked and reject what didn't and try to get better, hopefully.
Hopefully.
But there's a better way, and that's what we're learning.
Randy, tell them why or how this book came into
Why?
being.
So this book is born fully out of personal experience.
Pain.
Yeah. And about 3.5 years ago, I was at a real low point in my life, probably the lowest. Not probably, the lowest. And I've served God all my life. I've had a lifetime in ministry in various roles. My family was suffering. My adult kids were hurting. I was hurting. I wasn't sure how to heal and restore them. I thought maybe it was too late. And I certainly wanted more for my family, more of a legacy. And but I was absolutely tired, overwhelmed, and broken, frankly. Not just a broken family, but a broken legacy. And I remember the time laying on the bed and just crying out in prayer, God, how do we turn this around? I don't even know where to start. And I just need to probably unplug, take my foot off the gas from ministry, and just figure out how to make the best of the rest of life. I mean, I was really that far down. And I remember hearing the Lord speak real clearly. He said, just love your family. Just love your family. And I thought, I can do that. And almost like immediately things started to shift. And I began to seek the Lord on what his original design for family was. And look at the tools I'd used for years in emotional intelligence and training leaders and coaching and different practices to help leaders in government and business and the church, and what would that look like to put it toward family? And I really asked myself some deep questions, like what does the original design of family look like? Where do I even start to heal and restore my family? Is it possible? Became real interested in like what even is legacy, and how do I intentionally create legacy in my kids, and what is it that I want to leave on, and what will the world miss if we don't figure this out? And as I was asking these questions, I found this scripture, and this is the foundational scripture for all that we do at Cultural Architects, and especially around the family legacy work. And it's Proverbs 24:3, and we like it best out of the Passion Translation. It says this, it says, wise people are builders. They build families, businesses, and communities. And this is so interesting. Through intelligence and insight, their enterprises are established and endure. They have legacy. Wise people are builders.
And I just want to interject here. This
Yeah.
is such a life verse, has become such a life verse for our family. One of our daughters is an artist, and that scripture is blasted across our dining room wall. Yeah, painted, hand painted. It's, yeah. Anyway, that's the basis.
Yeah, and so we began living out these new protocols, these exercises, so the training on listening, and we're going to go through them in real cursory but valuable format in these 8 quarantine edition sessions. And but we started living it, and we started getting flip chart paper all over the walls, and going through these things together. And we don't have it down perfectly, but our adult children are healing, we're communicating, we're understanding what legacy is, we're understanding our identity, and so many things that we've created these tools. The workbook has all 60 tools, step by step. We're going to go through, even today, we're going to go through emotional intelligence in just a moment and leave you with something you can do with your family while you're all locked up together in quarantine.
Tell them, just take them briefly through what the 6 protocols are, honey.
So here's the family legacy model. They're a series of experiences or teachings that you do together in 6 areas. This is what we found. First area is what we call the emotional intelligence or EQ protocol. It's how to create a safe, trusting, loving environment that's attractive, that your family is healthy and wants to be in. It's how to treat each other. It's how to set expectations with what a family is and isn't and how we do things. And it's a way for everybody to participate and feel loved and accepted. That's the EQ. There's 8 exercises in there that, by the way, they're applicable to leadership and business and other things, but in the family, they are powerful. And we're going to give you one of those exercises in a moment. The second protocol is what we call the identity protocol. And what we've learned is, and this was a real eye-opener for me, when we think about passing on legacy, we think of, buildings that are left, roads that are named, projects that are done, wealth that's given, and it is that. But really, the truth is legacy is the character and the nature of God that we're able to pass on to our kids. It's the inside work. That's what God gave to Jesus. Jesus is building in us. And when we carry courage and love and empathy and compassion, we naturally make decisions and do things that produce roads that are named after us and hospitals that are built or whatever. It's the character that produces the fruit of what we think naturally and more traditionally as legacy. And this is a big shift because stewarding legacy and identifying a legacy in your family line and in your family and teaching it is really that inner work. How do we become the legacy of the character of God so that all we do at work, in the community, at church is powerful and blesses people? And I mean, identity is a huge thing. You talk a lot about identity.
I love identity. I think it's the core. If you gotta know who you are individually, but certainly as a family. And Randy writes powerfully around family identity in the book.
Yeah. After identity, quickly, there's a family legacy ritual protocol, which is how do we take a regular practice, like around a meal, and depending on your family structure, it might be once a week or it might be once a month, whatever, when you get together. But how do we come around and create something that's fun, that's on purpose,
intentional,
that uses story, that uses a coach approach and is around legacy so that the experience around the dinner table isn't stressful and isn't, tearing each other down, but it really is supporting each other, loving each other, identifying who we are as a family and how we're showing up. And there's been very simple tools and techniques that we teach to be able to do that. And it's exciting.
It is.
It is. We enjoy it. Don't we?
We do. Regularly.
Then the next protocol is what we call the family venture protocol. And that is an intentional trip, a vacation. That's a learning adventure. There's all kinds of things biologically, scientifically that happen when we're out at play or out at rest together as a family. Literally, it turns on discovery centers and all kinds of stuff in our brains. And so how do we take a vacation that's regular and put in it a learning experience that gives insight and ownership to our legacy, who we are? And there's a way to do it. It's brilliant, it's fun, and we've been doing this now for a number of years, and it's very effective. And then finally, there's 2 more. The 5th one is the mission protocol, and there's some real value during this time of quarantine around the mission protocol because it's an acronym. Let's see if I can do it by memory. I wrote it. The momentary, intentional, specific, and supportive.
What's the I?
Intervention as one in time of need. Mission. MISSION. And it's for crisis time. So it's when a death of a family member, the loss of a job, a quarantine time. It's a way to think about how do we show up as a family, organize ourselves, and get the most out of it. Because it's usually during crisis times, families really hurt each other, can get blown apart. It can be, what I'm learning even about this quarantine with a lot of my clients, it's the straw that broke the camel's back. They're already tolerating so many things and there's pressure, and then something like this comes on top of all of that, and the stress causes some stuff, and blowout, burnout, whatever. So there's a way to go about that and enforce legacy through it. And finally, the impartation protocol, which is, how do I pass on the most important things intentionally, meaningfully, so that they'll last, and the next generation will pick them up and do it with their kids. So it's, how do I pass on the wisdom, the blessing, the stuff, but on purpose, so that it matters and we understand what our legacy is, and generationally we begin to pass this thing on. And of course, there's a lot of unfinished business and some other stuff that are in that, but 6 protocols that we're going to just touch on over the next 8 weeks. Are you ready?
What are we starting with today?
You ready to get started?
Yes.
Which one are we starting with?
We're starting with emotional intelligence.
All right. The EQ protocol. And let me just read this so we know why again. The EQ protocol, the purpose is to create a family environment of safety, trust, support, forgiveness, love, purpose, and fun. So it's okay to have fun. We better have fun as a family, at least on the quarantine. The work a family does in this space will have a profound impact on the family experience, presently and the trajectory for generations to come. So the EQ protocol is really, how do we treat each other? What are the expectations that we have? And what's most important to create safety, trust, fun, all that stuff? And how do we do it intentionally? So in the book, in the workbook, there's 8 exercises in this area, or 9, I think. And every one of them have really profound benefits. The one we're going to talk about today, I'm going to give you a tool, and we're just going to take a few more minutes to do this, and you're going to be off and on the road. It's called healthy communication. It's called empathetic listening. So this is all about, how do I listen as a family member? How do we listen? And the truth is, as I've worked with people in all walks of life, business, whatever, we don't listen very well.
What?
Really listen. My dad, who I love, is a hero. He said this about listening. He said, empathy is walking in another person's shoes with full understanding. We have sandals as one of the symbols on our family crest because empathy is one of our family identity pieces. And there's really not a greater way of constantly and continuously, meaningfully showing empathy than really listening. If we listen, we can really understand. And here's real quickly, and this is all in the workbook and in the book in detail. But basically what I want to say is, most people listen from what Melvin Toomey calls 6 ways of automatic listening. We just naturally take in information within a certain lens or context, and that's just what we think is normal. Everybody does, but they don't. One way is agree, disagree. In other words, I'm taking things in, but I'm really listening to my own words and my own thoughts, my own head about what's being said, so that I can respond and I can agree or I can disagree. That's not really listening to understand. It's not listening to walk in another person's shoes with full understanding. That's just listening so I can get my answer out. You may interrupt a lot. You may cut people off. You may get to the point, and you don't really hear and understand. You just respond. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can identify. That's not empathetic listening, okay? Personalizing is another way. People listen to whatever another person is saying, and it's like they get defensive. Why are you talking about me? What do you mean, me that way? And there's a whole mindset around, are you judging me? Are you, I'm not enough? And all of the energy is in me, about me and what I think, not about what you're trying to say, communicate, not what you feel, not what you need, not what you want. And so that's not the best way to listen. There's a already know it and fit way of listening, which just means I'm listening to kind of fit in to what I already know. I'm really thinking about what I already know, not what you're saying. There's another way of listening called safety. Is it, am I going to be safe? I listen through this lens of safety. Another on, is this accurate or inaccurate? And this is really important for those people who like to be right. And they're listening to make sure that everybody's precise, the right words, the right time, the right everything. And if it's not, they're really upset, and they're really evaluating what's being said instead of understanding what's being said. Finally, there's the last of 6 of Toomey's is resignation. It doesn't matter anyway. I don't really care. I'm not really listening. Doesn't matter. Now, those are not empathetic listening, but it's the way a lot of us listen. And just think about it for a moment, how you listen. And here's a better way. Empathetic listening is when Leslie comes to me and she's talking and I absolutely don't talk, and my mind, my energy, my thoughts is 100%, as close as I can anyway, on understanding what she's saying, thinking, feeling, and not just by the words, but by her facial expression and her eye contact and her body language. You know, if you study communication, you know that only about 5 to 7% of communication is words. Most of our communication is in tone and in body language, facial expressions. I think it's almost 80% of what a person is saying. And if you're not really paying attention to understand another person, you'll miss so many things. And instead of formulating my response and talking about specifically anything, I wait and I listen so I fully understand. I let her get out her complete thought. In fact, I even stay quiet when she's done talking so that, this is so interesting, try it. When you be quiet when someone's talking and you keep eye contact and you keep your attention, they'll fill the silence. They will fill the space. And usually they'll fill it by going deeper inside and being more vulnerable, more transparent, which deepens intimacy. It doesn't matter how old you are, as a kid, as a teenager, as an adult. If you are listened to this way, it means you're valued, you're safe, you're trusted. You can trust to be vulnerable. And as you then listen and fully understand, it unlocks intimacy at a whole new level. So here's the exercise. We just got about 1 more minute. In your book, I don't remember exactly which page it is. Oh, we're gonna post this. That's right.
Yeah, we're gonna
post this with the video. We're gonna put it up there, and it'll walk you through step by step. But you simply gather around or break up in groups, and you ask questions. And the questions you ask are real simple questions like, "What do you like best about our family?" And then everybody practices empathetic listening, where you don't talk, you don't interrupt, you listen, you look, the body line, everything to try to fully understand each person in there. What's that?
Put these away.
Yeah, put the phones away.
That's rule number 1 on listening exercises. Put it away.
That's a good point. Thank you.
Sorry.
That's all right. I thought,
I interrupted.
I thought we were going too long.
We're totally way over our time.
Nah, no, we're not. And then you can ask follow-up questions. Well, maybe I like it that we play together, or I like it that we're honest, or I like it that we go to church, or I like whatever it is. Listen and fully understand. And if anything, ask another question. Drill it in a little bit deeper, like, why is that so important to you? Or what is that good? There's questions in the tool for you to use with the family. And you can make up your own questions, but really this exercise is around listening. So while you use questions to fuel it, the real key is everybody's practicing listening, not from one of those 6 ways, but from empathetic listening. It's honoring to be listened to.
Yeah, it's a gift.
You feel valued when someone listens. And if we can teach our families to listen to each other, to let them actually get a whole thought out, and it's safe, you actually talk about a lot deeper and more meaningful issues. You solve problems that are the real problems instead of all the symptoms that we tend to interrupt conversation and go off on tangents. Yeah. So there's so much here. There's a lot more in the book if you want it. You can go to our website, culturalarchitects.org. You can see the training that we have available and the resources and all that stuff there. But here's another thing. What we're going to remind them to do.
Ask questions.
Ask questions.
Give us some feedback.
Yeah, if you want specific questions addressed, put those in the comments, and we'll take those up in the subsequent quarantine editions that we put out on Tuesday and Friday at 3 p.m. Central. And we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your questions, your comments, and we'd love to get some feedback as you try these exercises with each other. And we'd love to share those with our viewers. So
yeah,
I think that's it for our first quarantine
The
edition.
first quarantine edition. Thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah, thank
Seriously,
you.
just it's a simple thing. Just practice listening over the next couple of days and give us your feedback. I know you're going to be pleasantly surprised.
God bless.
Bye.